Welcome, my friends, to the Merri channel. This is Cameraman, inviting you to sit back and enjoy today's show number 46, The 70's Show, starring Merri and Ella, recorded live in the Merri studios. So now, ladies and gentlemen, let's have some fun and a great time. Here's Merri.
Welcome to our very special 70's show! Woo! Don't you gotta do those fingers, man! The 70's were so much fun, even though we were just in high school then. Yeah. Well, the later 70's were in high school. Elementary school, actually, in the 70's. Well, the beginning of the 70's, but when disco became really big, we were probably like 8th grade, maybe like, you know.
I remember you were in love with Andy Gibb. That was the Bee Gees. They're popular. Yeah,
that's
and sure. I was at the time, well, Elvis was really big. I was into Elvis, Laura Branigan, and Bruce Springsteen, 1972. Was it 1970, the E Band, the E Street Band? That's what it was.
That's right.
Yeah, it formed October 1972. So yeah, Bruce Springsteen. I just watched a music video, and now you know Bryan Adams. You know how you like Bryan Adams, and I do too.
I do.
Well, Bruce Springsteen and Bryan Adams were singing Badlands together. And they are so mature now, you probably wouldn't even recognize them now.
Sure,
no, he still looks great. It's just that they don't look like they used to.
Yeah, well, of course, we don't look like we used to either.
But they sound so good together. I couldn't believe that Bryan Adams was right there, up there on the stage, singing with Bruce Springsteen. Sounded so good. They were singing Badlands.
That's very good, but it was also the era of disco. Like there was the Bee Gees, and of course there was Donna Summer.
Oh, yes.
You know, I mean, there was so many great artists back then. But anyways, let's get started with our 70's
yes.
So Ella, why don't you start?
Okay, so 19 little history for everyone. 1970 facts, thanks to Merri. She did quite a bit of research. Okay. So with a toss of her hat, Merri Richards wins us over with the Mary Tyler Moore Show.
Oh, that was fantastic. I remember the
she was my husband's crush. She had such a big crush, not on Olivia Newton-John, but Mary Tyler Moore.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, I never knew that about tennis.
Yes. He was so into Mary Tyler Moore.
So she debuted, like you were saying, in September 19th, 1970.
Yes. And so on October 1st, 1971, Walt Disney World officially opens. And the resort includes the Magic Kingdom, Disney's Contemporary Resort, Disney's Polynesian Resort, Disney's Sport, Wilderness, and Campground. And so on November 8th, 1971, Led Zeppelin releases
Highway to Heaven.
We all know that song.
Yes, we do.
So releases their Untitled album that would be known as the Led Zeppelin. The fourth, a single recorded for the album would be forever top list of all-time greatest rock songs, Stairway to Heaven.
Yeah, I think I said highway. It's Stairway to Heaven.
To Heaven, that's okay. I know what you meant, Merri. Okay, Merri, we want to take over?
Well, one of my parents' favorite shows was MASH, and that premiered on September 17th, 1972.
My husband loves that show. I do too.
And the Battle of the Sexes. Billie Jean King defeats Bobby Riggs in the heavily promoted Battle of the Sexes tennis match on September 20th, 1973.
Yes.
And one of my favorite shows growing up was The Fonz. And the Cunninghams emerged on the scene when Happy Days premieres on January 15th, 1974.
Richie Cunningham and Joni Cunningham. Yes.
That was a great family show.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And a scary one in 1974. I remember this. I was so scared. Millions suddenly feared the waters when Jars was released on June 20th. And it became the summer's best blockbuster. I remember when that came out, people were even afraid to go.
I was too afraid to go.
In the toilet. In the toilet. I mean, because they were afraid like the
Well, yes, especially children were probably traumatized by it.
They were traumatized. I was traumatized. I was very young when that came out.
It should have been a rated R movie.
I know, really. Ellen, why don't you take over now?
Okay, so armed with wit, strength, a lasso of truth, and an invisible plane, Linda Carter makes her debut as Wonder Woman on November 25th, 1975.
So many teenage boys were in love with her.
She looked good. She still does.
She's beautiful. She's beautiful.
Yes. And Charlie's Angels. I even had their poster, Merri.
We got Jacqueline Smith here.
Oh, yeah. And Farrah Fawcett with the hair over here. And
we
then
we just need a Kate Jackson here.
Oh, yeah, Kate Jackson. Well, I have the wig that kind of looks like Jackson.
There you go.
Actually, it's too much time would take. We're just doing this for fun, the wigs and all.
Of course we are. Of course we are.
Okay, Merri,
So
you want to take over?
Oh, sure.
Charlie's Angels. Oh, I didn't even read it.
Finish that.
Charlie's Angels premieres on September 26, 1976. Earlier that year, Farrah Fawcett poses for a poster that would become the best-selling pinup of all time.
Oh, yeah, she was beautiful.
Oh,
she was a beautiful
yes.
woman. And The Muppet Show premieres on September 20th, 1976 in New York.
Oh.
And their first guest is Rita Moreno. Now, she's a beautiful woman. Even at this age, she looks beautiful.
She does. She certainly does.
And Ella, Us Disco Girls. Why don't you read this one?
1977, disco emerges as one of the most popular kinds of music, thanks in part to the film Saturday Night Fever.
Yeah,
Fever. I was just kidding about when I said fever.
Yeah, that's
Fever.
right. That's right, girl.
And, where was I now?
Star Wars.
Yeah, Star Wars. The first Star Wars movie is released on May 25th, 1977. The movie, of course, go on to inspire a massive pop culture phenomenon that is still going strong today. Oh yeah, all those characters, they're really increasing in price, and I mean, my son has quite a few of them too.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh yes, On September 11th, the Atari BCS Atari 2600 console is released. Oh, we had Atari, didn't you, Merri?
Well, actually, my brother-in-law was the one who had a Atari. We didn't have it in my household, but I remember that, whatchamacallit, but, just the game systems back then, we thought they were, like, so fantastic now.
Oh, they were.
But you compared them to the games now. I mean, the ones now are so animated and so real. Yes, but we still had them.
But that was a lot of fun playing Atari. You didn't play Atari? I played Atari.
I did. Really? I tried it, but I'm terrible at it.
I stuck at it, but I still had a great time.
You did. Good for you. Good for you. And Ellen, you love this next girl here. Why don't you read it?
Grease. Okay, starring John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John is released on June 16, 1978. The movie becomes a hit as the all-time, at the time, highest-grossing live-action musical at the box office. Oh, Grease.
Oh, when I was younger, I kept going to that movie over and over again. I just loved it. And I got the DVD. I still watch it.
Well, you know what? Not only over here, my cousin who lived in Poland at the time, she wanted, when I went over there for vacation, she wanted for me to buy her that whole, it was like a big album. And I brought it over, and she kept on listening to it, listening all the time.
That was
it was all over. And, there was no democracy back then, and they already loved that kind of music. Oh, yeah.
And Pope John Paul II is my favorite pope. I love him. Maybe we're Polish, Ella and I.
People's Pope.
He's the people's pope, but he's also Polish.
But he lost his whole family, so that's the reason why, because they died of. So he was the only one left in the whole family. So he just became a priest, and then he became a pope.
Oh, he found
his
great.
family,
and he succeeds Pope John I on October 16, 16th, 1978.
And now music.
And we also mentioned Michael Jackson in the last show, and he released this Off the Wall, which was like his best album in my opinion.
Oh, yeah.
And that was on August 10th, 1979.
Yeah.
Now the music, Ella. Why don't you get us
Bee
started?
Gees, number 1, How Deep Is Your Love by the Bee Gees, and 2, I Just Want to Be Your Everything by Andy Gibb. You should be reading this one, Mary. Andy Gibb was your guy.
This is probably one that you'd probably like the next one, Ella. Why don't you read it?
You Light Up My Life by Debbie Boone, but she had stage fright, so she didn't sing too many songs, but what a great song that was.
Beautiful song, yeah.
Yeah. You want to read the next one,
Sure,
Mary?
The Love Freak by Chick. I think that's how you say it.
Oh, yeah. You
And
said it right.
Staying Alive, again, those
By
Bee Gees.
Gees,
I had that Bee Gees album.
Oh, yeah.
It was great.
Your
And
favorite
Shadow Dancing by Andy Gibb. Hot Stuff by Donna Summers. You can read the last two.
God bless their souls. They're both gone now.
Oh, I know.
Andy Gibb, Donna Summer, and Farrah too. God bless their
Oh,
soul.
I know, really, definitely.
And Joni's gone too from Happy Days, so God bless her soul
so
too.
Sad, so sad.
And now, Night Fever by the Bee Gees, and they had that disco
They
voice
were
there.
very, very popular.
And number 10, Raindrops Deep Falling, Rain, number 10, Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head by B.J. Thomas. Oh, what a great singer B.J. Thomas is.
And this is a 70s song. I shouldn't say song, it was a poem, lyrics. And Ella, why don't you read the first 3 lines?
Okay. The 70s song. The 70s was a groovy time. With ABBA singing Dancing Queen, and ABBA, they got together. Thank God they're still doing great. They look great. They sound great. They got together. Look at.
They started in November.
Oh yes,
and
yes.
they're still
doing great still. Yeah, and Olivia Newton-John, she's still up on their stage singing.
Oh, fantastic! I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah, oh yeah. And disco dancing also. So with ABBA singing Dancing Queen, sipping margaritas at Margaritaville.
Oh, yeah.
That song is so relaxing.
Oh, my mother used to love that.
Oh, yeah.
And then we had disco dancing with Donna Summer's Last Dance.
Oh,
and
yes.
saying goodbye to Elton's Goodbye Yellow Brick Road.
Oh, yes, Elton John.
Love the 70s.
Oh, yeah. And I should also mention, Mary.
Yes.
Everybody knows about Clearwater Revival.
Oh,
yeah. Creedence Clearwater Revival. Boy, their song. Whenever we go out to nightclubs, they're still playing that song.
Weddings.
They
play
everywhere. They do.
Definitely.
Yeah. So I think they came out in 1968, 1969, but 70s, that was a popular song, and they're popular.
Definitely. So anyways, this is now going to bring us to our next segment, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
These are the last words.
Yes, so Mary looked up a couple of quotes over here, really nice quotes. The first one has to do with love. Love means never having to say you're sorry. So do you remember where that quote came from, Mary?
Love Story.
Oh, Love Story, 1970. Oh, yeah, so sweet. And the second quote, you're going to need a bigger boat. Do you know, Mary and everybody, where that quote came from?
Oh, we talked about that earlier. It makes me a little
1975. Does that ring a bell?
Yes, Jaws.
Ooh, I'm scared.
You know, it's so funny when we're little kids, you know, these things that scare us, but now I'm such a beach gal, I couldn't get, who cares about it?
You never know. know, there might be Jaws on its way to the shore.
Anyways, thank you for joining us today, and we love our 70s.
Oh, yes, and you probably loved our dancing too.